This is not democratic government. Now, in the course of our journey we'll be discussing many items which are thoroughly familiar, but we'll be looking at them from a different perspective to that normally conveyed. In this regard it will appear that we are often treading wholly new ground, but in fact it was only the ground that existed before it was carpeted and concealed by those with otherwise vested interests. Only by rolling back this carpet of purposeful concealment can we succeed in our quest for the Holy Grail. So our quest will begin in the Holy Land of Judea in the time of Jesus, and we'll spend a good while there. I will not move from that era until we break, because it will take that long to set the emergent scene for the next 2,000 years of history. We'll be traveling through the Dark Ages then, to spend some time in medieval Europe. The Grail mystery will then be followed into King Arthur's Britain and, eventually, in time, to the United States of America, where the American fathers were among the greatest exponents of the Grail Code. Eminent Americans such as George Washington, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Charles Thomson, Thomas Jefferson were as much champions of the Holy Grail as were King Arthur, Sir Lancelot and Galahad. Bloodline of the Holy Grail. The book has been described as the book of messianic descent. It was a radio interviewer who called it that, and it's an apt description because the book carries the subtitle, The Hidden Lineage of Jesus Revealed. This of course indicates that Jesus had children and, by implication therefore, that he was married. So was he married? Did Jesus have children? If so, do we know what happened to them? Are their descendants alive today? The answer to each of these questions is yes. We shall be looking at the emergent family in some detail. We will follow the story, their story, century by century, the story of a resolute royal dynasty, the descendant heirs of Jesus who struggled against all odds through the centuries to preserve the messianic royal code down to date. Tonight's story will be a conspiracy, usurped crowns, prosecutions, assassinations, and the unwarranted concealment of information from the people of the Western world. It's an account of good government and bad government, about how the patriarchal kingship of people was supplanted by dogmatic tyranny and the dictatorial lordship of lands. It's a compelling journey of discovery, the view of past ages, but with its eye firmly set on the future. This is history as it was once written but has never been told. Let's begin with the most obvious of all questions. What is the Holy Grail? How is the Holy Grail connected with the descendant heirs of Jesus? The fact that Jesus had descendants might come as a surprise to some, but it was widely known in Britain and Europe until the late Middle Ages, just a few hundred years ago. In medieval times, The line of messianic descent was defined by the French word sangreal. This derived from the two words sangreal, meaning blood royal. This was the blood royal of Judah, the kingly line of David which progressed through Jesus and his heirs. In English translation, the definition, sangreal, became sangreal as in San Francisco. When written more fully it was written Saint Grail, Saint of course, relating to holy, and by a natural linguistic process came the more romantically familiar name, Holy Grail. From the Middle Ages there were a number of chivalric and military orders specifically attached to the Messianic blood royal in Britain and Europe. They included the Order of the Realm of Zion, the Order of Sacred Sepulchre, but the most prestigious of all was the Sovereign Order of the Sangreal, the Knights of the Holy Grail. This was a dynastic order of Scotland's royal house of Stuart. In symbolic terms, the Grail is often portrayed as a chalice that contains the blood of Jesus, alternatively as a vine of grapes. The product of grapes is wine, and it is the chalice and the wine of Grail tradition that sit at the very heart of the communion, the Mass, the Eucharist, and this sacrament. The sacred chalice contains the wine that represents the perpetual blood of Jesus. It is quite apparent that although maintaining the ancient communion custom, the Christian Church has conveniently ignored and elected not to teach the true meaning and origin